everyone to your marriage conflict resolution masterclass. I'm hoping to give you some tools that you can use in your practice that you can take away and use tonight, and tools for yourself in your own relationship. So imagine somebody comes into your office. It might be an individual, it might be a couple, and you know that underneath their hello, there's a lot of pain, sadness, confusion, anger, resentment, fear, ambivalence. So take a deep breath with me here and just imagine yourself sitting across from a new client or a new couple and feeling the energy that's emanating from them, and see how it affects you. What happens to you when you're sitting with this? Because I believe no matter what a relationship is going on, that families need not be broken, but can be peacefully and respectfully restructured. And that's kind of my mantra. So I welcome you. I'm so glad you're spending time. There's so many places you could be. And I'm going to dive in and give you lots of information. Please ask me questions along the way. And I have some gifts at the end when we're finished. So hopefully you will get gifts throughout and at the end. So welcome and thank you for being here. So let's start with the thought of how many of your clients are wondering, should I stay or should I go? And I'm going to suggest that maybe all of them have thought of it at one time or another. And then, of course, when they show up for marriage counseling, it's up to you to decide how to help them. Because many times people think that when they come for marriage counseling, they can only talk about the marriage. And if they've wondered whether to stay or go, they have nowhere to put that question. Well, we're going to talk about what to do about that tonight. But first of all, what are your challenges when you're working with a couple, and especially a couple that has a lot of conflict? Do you get anxious when there's a couple in conflict? I mean, I know when I first did, if somebody was angry in my office, it reminded me of my father. I shut down and I would react kind of sheepishly rather than feeling like I had the confidence to handle the situation. Sometimes I would side with the underdog. The quiet person would get my attention. I am a mediator or a lawyer, but you may not be. So you may feel, oh, if they think about leaving, you don't have the skill set for that, which I'm going to help you with tonight. And maybe you feel you don't know what to tell them, that you have to have the answers and you don't know the answers. And sometimes when divorce is mentioned in a marital conflict, in a marital counseling session, the therapist or coach refers out to a mediator or an attorney. So those are some challenges I'm going to help you with tonight, because I also want to help you stay in self with your clients in conflict, meaning you're going to come from your highest consciousness, your calm, clear, compassionate center, and you're not going to let them trigger you in ways that you may have in the past, because you're going to learn how to take a breath, become present, compassionately, curiously, and offer them your witnessing awareness and your guidance. So you are in the right place. If you sometimes feel stuck or unprepared or out of your depth when somebody mentions a separation or divorce, and even if they're not mentioning a separation or divorce, you might feel unprepared for something they bring up. Maybe you want to feel more confident no matter what the crisis is. It might be an affair. It might be a financial issue. It might be something sexual or with their children. And there is an art to feeling confident when your clients are in crisis. And I want to help you with that. Because what I want to do is give you more tools. Because this process, even though we're talking about couples, it also works with individuals. So even if one person in a relationship learns the skills I'm going to share with you to give to them, they will make positive impact on their relationship. And you don't have to feel frustrated that you don't know the legal or financial information to offer them, because you do want to help them make informed decisions for their future. And you can do that by some of the tools I'm going to give you tonight. Okay. You might be confused about your role, meaning you may think that when clients come to you, they're looking for you as the expert to decide what they should do about their union. I know a lot of times clients come to me and they're looking for me to validate their angry parts and fix their partner. But your role is to really be a witnessing, compassionate, aware presence that allows them to get to their higher self. Because you can be seen as an expert in conflict resolution. And that's what I'd like to help you do. There's not a lot of therapists that get as much training as I'm going to offer you tonight in this webinar, in this masterclass, and a way to get more information afterwards. Because I want to help you expand your outreach and your income, because as you become known as an expert in conflict resolution, people start referring to you. Lawyers can refer to you when they have couples in going through a divorce. Clergy can refer to you if they have someone in their church or synagogue that's having problems. Other therapists can refer to you because you'll have an expertise. So you can expand your outreach and, of course, earn more, because you no longer have to feel powerless or sad when a marriage ends, when you know you could help. And you don't have to see someone stay in a bad relationship because they don't have the information or support they need to leave. You can be that person for them. You can help them own their feelings, ask for what they want and need, and create a new and better relationship. And that's what we're going to cover tonight. We're going to cover the 5 steps for resolving conflict and how you can create calm, confident, courageous conversations about everything. We're also going to talk about the 5 mistakes to avoid and what to do instead. There's a blind spot that often hits therapists, and when it does, and coaches, it creates a lack of safety for your clients. And I'm going to tell you what that is and how to avoid it. And then we're going to talk about how to harness the power of mentoring and support. I'm going to give you a lot of information, and then I'm also going to tell you how to get more mentoring and support at the end. So my hope is that you find one or more tools that you can take with you today, that you have one or more clients who can benefit from those tools, that you get all your questions answered, you get all your needs met, whatever those are, and you'll want to learn more. So stay till the end. I've got some gifts for you to share and more information. So I'm going to take a breath and I'm going to stop the slides because I want to tell you my story, because it may resonate with some of your clients. So let me stop the share. Here we go. There, I'm back. Okay. I'm going to take a breath and I'm going to tell you my story. My story is that I married my college sweetheart when we were 22. And for 20 years, we had what I thought was a storybook marriage, 2 daughters, the dog, the picket fence. And somewhere along the way, we started having problems. So we went to marriage counseling, and maybe you have couples like I was, happy, but hopeful things could get better. So in marriage counseling, we learned a few tips, but things started to change. And as they started to change, I felt stuck. And maybe you know clients who feel stuck. They're going round and round with the indecision of, do they want to stay? Do they want to go? And they're stuck between 2 opposites, black and white opposites of, I have to stay in what I have or I have to get divorced, and I don't want to do that. So they just stay stuck. And for a long time, I stayed stuck. And then we eventually separated. But when I separated, there was no place to turn for counseling, because marriage counselors didn't advertise that they help people who were separated. They're usually just helping people resolve their marital issues. So there was no expert in helping me navigate and helping my estranged husband navigate. So we did our best to co-parent and deal with money and deal with our lawyers who were taking a very long time to get a divorce. And then we had, unfortunately, the typical adversarial divorce. It costs a lot of money. It took a lot of time. It caused a lot of pain. And even though I was separated for a very long time, I stayed separated thinking, well, at least my family's intact. We're not divorced yet. But I really just elongated the time for the pain and the suffering and the indecision. So finally, when I was in the courtroom with my soon-to-be ex-husband sitting on one side when I was sitting on the other, and our lawyers were in the back room with the judge deciding our lives, and I sat across the man I once promised to love forever, and the man who was there when our children were born, and my heart was breaking. I'm sure his heart was breaking. I said to myself, there has to be a better way to do this. People don't have to destroy their lives, their finances, their families, just because they can't live together anymore. So I took all of my training. I was a lawyer, I became a mediator, then I became a therapist. Later, I became a Chopra certified teacher of meditation, yoga, and Ayurveda. And I blended it all together and I came up with the program that I want to share with you. So I'm going to go back to the slides and tell you about the compassionate mediation program and some of the tenets of it. So when we go back to my story, here's what I did. I was a lawyer and then I became a mediator. I thought maybe I could mediate my own divorce, which is not a good idea, especially if you're codependent. My mantra is tell me what you want and need, and I'll give you more so that you'll like me better. So that wasn't helpful. I became a therapist in internal family systems. I've been doing that for over 35 years. And then I went to the Chopra Center and I blended it all into the book that I wrote in 2016 on compassionate mediation, how to add passion to your marriage or compassion to your divorce. And the reason I titled the book that way is because what I'm going to teach you tonight and what I'm going to give you access to later is a way to teach individuals and couples how to compassionately communicate, how to bring their best self to their relationship. And when they do that, they can take the relationship they want to leave and create a whole new one. Dick Schwartz, who's the originator of internal family systems, wrote of the book that divorce brings out the worst in us and leaves lasting scars. He generously said, I'm a master at lifting divorcing couples out of their narrow protective perspectives, and they learn the larger lessons from their relationships and proceed based on the best interest of all involved. That this is relationship healing at its best. And that is what this is. It's healing no matter what form the relationship takes in the future. We help the individual and the couple and the family heal along the way. Later, I wrote the Kindle book called Compassionate Divorce, Changing the Face of Divorce One Heart at a Time. And that's what I'd like to think that we're doing, that even if someone decides they don't want to be married anymore, there is a way to bring a heart-centered awareness to the decisions you're making and create a new and better relationship, even if it means it's one that's separated or divorced. So I'm going to take a breath and I'm going to invite you to do the same thing. So I'm going to stop right now. Are there any questions so far? If so, put them in the chat, bring them up right now. Does anyone have any questions or are we all good? All good? I'll keep on going, but please interrupt me anytime. All right, because we're going to dive right in. We're going to talk about the 5 steps for resolving conflict and creating calm, confident, courageous conversations with your clients. Now, remember, this works with an individual as well as a couple. So if you're coaching someone and you realize that he or she is having problems in the relationship, whatever I'm sharing with you that they can do as a couple, you can help the individual do it and bring it back to their relationship, and it changes the relationship. So the first thing is I have a set of questions that I ask in an initial interview that brings someone in my office who's in crisis and has them leave 45 minutes later feeling hopeful. Because what I do, and what you probably do with your clients, is you want to talk them off the ledge. And what I mean by that is, I'll talk about Liz. Liz came in to see me and she was so distraught. She didn't want to be married. She thought that leaving was better than staying. And I had her learn a few things so she didn't have to sit there wondering if she had to stay or go. She could learn how to be her best self and bring her best self back into the relationship. So the mistake many coaches and therapists make is that when a client comes to us, we get lost in their stories. In other words, Liz wanted to tell me what her husband did and what she did and what he did 10 years ago and why I need to know all the details. And I often tell my clients that I could listen to their whole story, but then they'd leave feeling only marginally better. So I don't get lost in their stories. And in my certification program, which I'll tell you more about, I give you the roadmap, the step-by-step questions, the scripts, the templates, and the guided meditation I do in my first session, because in that first session, people go from feeling frantic, distraught, confused, to feeling hopeful. So I can't give you all of it right now, but I want to give you a few of the kinds of questions you ask. So if you're meeting with an individual, you ask the individual these questions. If you're meeting with a couple, you separate them and you do an initial interview with each of them. And basically what you're going to try to find out is, what does your partner do to trigger you? And what do you do to trigger your partner? And tell me a little bit about your family of origin. And then if you had a magic wand, what would you want? And then I ask them for their word for spirituality. And the reason I do that is because when I'm working with a client, I'm listening for how much in self they are. I'm listening for how much they're coming from this calm, compassionate place. And they're not exiling certain sadness and fear and pushing them aside. They're not managing by being codependent and hiding their feelings. They're not getting extreme by yelling, but how much self, how much calm, compassionate presence is there? And if not, what are the parts of each of them that trigger each other? And then when they describe their families of origin very briefly to me, this is a very brief 15-minute interview that strategically gives me the information that I need to figure out how to best help them. Because when they talk about their family of origin and their partner's family of origin, they get a whole new perspective on how they each became who they are, react as they do, and it brings in more compassion for the situation. The magic wand question gives me a sense of what do they really want? Do they really want to stay together? Is one of them threatening divorce just as a way to get their partner's attention? Somebody having an affair and they really want to be done? What do they really want? And when I ask them for their word for spirituality, that's what I'm talking about, being in self. When we're in self, we're in touch with that higher power, true self, Buddha nature, God inside of us. And that's the energy we bring to these conversations. So a client who is in self is also able to make calm and clear decisions, has compassion for herself and himself and her partner, is confident in asking for what they want and need, stays connected to the process. They don't disassociate. They don't skip sessions. They participate in the process. And they have a sense of courage that they are going to be able to face whatever is happening, knowing that they'll be able to get through it. Because when they're in self, they can co-create reasonable compromises and stay curious instead of reactive. Stay curious about options that you bring to them and the resolutions that they'll co-create, and they're open to a new future. So instead of sitting alone, ruminating about the past, projecting it into the future, what Liz ended up saying was, we're building an entirely new marriage. She said that she was thinking of leaving by the end of the first session. She said, we were able to strip away some of the old resentments and junk to have a glimpse of the person we fell in love with all those years ago. After a few short months, we are no longer thinking of ending our marriage. Linda is helping us build an entirely new marriage. And then she said a few more nice things, but that's the basis of it. You help people build entirely new marriages. And I often tell my clients, your first marriage here is over. It's not about fixing it. It's about creating a new one based on who you are now and what you want moving forward in the future. So I'm going to stop for just a minute, take a breath, and see how we're doing. Everybody okay? Good. And Maria, I am recording, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. All right, now we're going to step into, so step one was to learn that initial interview. And it's it's a very great way to get the process started. So you feel that you have a big picture, they feel that they have a better understanding. And Wayne Dyer says, when you change the way you look at something, what you look at changes. So when a couple or an individual looks at their situation from their higher self, that calm, compassionate center, instead of their reactive, blaming, judging parts, they have a whole new perspective. And then they take that perspective into step 2. So step 2 is helping them create a compassionate relationship as you teach them the miracle of empathy. And what that means is they relate from their highest self, and they relate with compassion and understanding, not judgment or blame. I have a handout in my course because oftentimes partners talk at each other instead of listening with empathy. And I have a couple, Angela and Chris, and they came in and he's having an affair. And he's pointing out all the things that she did wrong that made him find someone else. And she gets quiet or she withdraws, but they don't know how to compassionately communicate. So mistake number 2 is counselors and coaches are often reluctant to talk about a separation or divorce. You don't think you have the skill set, the knowledge, the tools, and you double down on trying to get them to talk only about their marriage. But if you're not letting them talk about a part of them that has considered leaving, they've got one foot in and one foot out. So when you have the courage to talk about an ending, it leads to a whole new beginning, because you finally bring into focus the fact that somebody is really that unhappy to think about leaving. Because many times in a situation, a couple will fight, withdraw, fight, shut down, and they think they're going to do that the rest of their lives. For another 30 years, one of them will die, the marriage will be over. But it's only when they have the courage to say, you know what, I care about you, but I can't do this anymore, that you finally get the other person's attention and can truly begin to make some changes. And in my certification program, I have a handout on empathy to teach you exactly how to do that. So as you're talking about the issues of money or sex or the house or parenting or anything, old wounds, you might talk about the issues, but you're going to help them process the feelings at the same time. So I can't give you all of it now, but what I want to give you now is a little bit about the miracle of empathy. And what you encourage them to do is use I messages about their hurt, their sadness, their fear, instead of you messages. In other words, in this communication with Angela and her husband, Chris, she could have said, you're being a jerk, you're being mean, stop the affair, this is all your fault. And the you messages would have made him a perpetrator and her a victim, even though that is her experience. But when she uses I messages, she can talk about, when you are with the other woman, I feel very hurt, sad, and scared. And in that conversation, Chris can put his walls down and at least begin to make amends for the pain that he's causing her. He doesn't have to keep pointing a finger at her and saying, you're to blame. And she can understand him better. And as they learn to hear, understand, and empathize, they can make behavior changes. Now, is he going to give up his mistress? I don't know. Are they going to stay separated? I don't know. Are they going to get divorced? I don't know. But I'm here to help them negotiate behavior, communicate compassionately, and talk about all their issues. And that's what I want to offer you, is the ability to do this. Because instead of talking at each other, they now break free from destructive patterns. And what Angela was able to say about herself is she could see how her parts got in the way. And when she learned to come from her higher self and speak for her anger, for her fear, for her sadness, instead of from her anger or her blame, she learned a whole new way to communicate, which gave them, if nothing else, a better friendship than the one they've experienced for many, many years now. And that's possible because compassionate mediation heals relationships, no matter what form it takes in the future. So now we're on to step 3. And if there's no questions, I'll continue. But if there are any questions, we good? I'll keep going. Great. Okay. Step 3 for resolving conflict is to be willing to explore all options, even the ones that your clients don't name. Meaning, as I said earlier, I started to write an article, what to do when a client is thinking of divorce, and many of them are thinking of divorce much more than they say. So what I do is I normalize that thinking of a separation or divorce is just a part that comes from being hurt, and it's okay to acknowledge it. Other times you actually have in your office two different agendas. In other words, there's an initiator and a non-initiator, meaning the initiator wants to leave, wants to initiate a separation or divorce, and the non-initiator wants to leave the status quo. And I often tell the initiator that if they don't take the time to process the feelings, the non-initiator is going to make them file for divorce. It'll take a couple of years, they'll spend a lot of dollars, and you still won't get very far. So processing the feelings is important. And I tell the non-initiator, if you're not willing to talk about the possibility of an ending, the person who wants to leave is going to think this is just marriage counseling. They're not fully invested in marriage counseling, and they're going to leave. So what we do is we help them do it all. And the mistake we often make is we don't know the options. We sit there and we think, well, we know how to get them to communicate or put their walls down, maybe. But if we don't talk about options, they still feel stuck. So in my certification program, we talk about all the options, and you feel confident that no matter who comes to your office, to your coaching process, you know where to meet them. You know you have options for them based on their specific issues. For instance, Gail and Jim were partners in business as well as in life. And they reached an impasse where they knew their marriage was not going to last, but they didn't know what to do. They had a very successful business they were running. They had a child that they were both adored very much, and they didn't know how to have these conversations. So we did the initial interview. We did the guided meditation to help them separate from their parts, come from their highest self. We helped them talk about their feelings and their fears and their sadness and empathize with each other's perspective based on the miracle of empathy. And they eventually were able to not just talk about what they were angry about, but they talked about their feelings deep down. And this is a sculpture from Burning Man that I love, because even though people look like they can't relate to each other, deep down, there's an inner child yearning to connect. And they did that. And as they were guided, as they said, mindfully through the impact of their divorce, they're continuing to work together in their successful business. And they told me once that their son was so surprised, his schoolmates, when he told them his parents were divorced, because they were still good friends. They were able to calmly, consciously, respectfully end their marriage, but create two restructured families where their child felt safe in both homes. And that's what I want to help you do with your clients. So let's think outside the box for options. I can't give you all of them, but what you want to do is, no matter who comes in your office, you want to make sure that you're opening the door to new possibilities for them. So they feel like you are the expert, you have the answers, and you're going to help them come up with new solutions. So sometimes, a couple, an individual or a couple can just suggest go on a date night, give your partner some attention, go for your own counseling, go for couples counseling, talk to a financial planner about money so you don't have to feel it's a taboo subject. There's also postnuptial agreements, separations, legal separations, and divorces. We'll talk more about that on your Understanding Rights and Finances, but just letting them know that there is a possibility and they're not stuck and they can talk about everything makes them feel very safe in your office and makes them feel very devoted to you and your expertise for the guidance and support you're going to give them. So, step 4 for resolving conflict. We're going to do the initial interview, create a compassionate relationship, explore the options, and help them understand their rights and finances. So take a deep breath with me here, because this is often where I lose coaches and therapists, and they think, nope, no thanks, too much information, don't want to know it. Well, stay tuned. Let's see what I can give you right now. And then there's so much more in my program, because all you need to do is stay one step ahead of your clients. Meaning, you got your coaching certification, you got your master's to get your therapy license, but when it comes to rights and finances, people feel, nope, don't want to do it. I'm not a mediator, I'm not an attorney, it's too complicated. All you have to do is stay one step ahead, and I'll show you what that means. So in my certification program, I give you step-by-step details, what to do, what to say, how to say it, when to say it, how to process the feelings that come up when you bring up certain subjects, whether it's money, the house, children, roles and responsibilities. All that is in the program. But for now, I want to remind you not to make the mistake of referring out too soon, because you can learn to stay one step ahead. And here's a few of the details that you can learn about. So you can help them stay in their current situation, but make it better. Use your skills, help them communicate, help them forgive each other, help them make amends, be compassionate. You can let them know there is such a thing as a postnuptial agreement. And what that is, just so you now know, just like a prenuptial agreement, a postnuptial agreement is something a couple agrees to after they're married. So if they should get divorced, they've already worked out some of the details. So when people are thinking in black and white, I don't want to stay, I don't want to get divorced, you're going to tell them there's a lot of different things they can do. They can just separate. They can separate in the same house. They can go to their own corners and stop looking to each other to blame or judge or react to. Just take a break. They can separate and go to different places to live. They can nest in the house and the children stay and they can come and go. So there's different ways to separate. They can get a legal separation. The difference between a legal separation and a divorce is that the legal separation divides the assets and figures out future financial entanglements, but it gives you the opportunity to stay on each other's health insurance and car insurance and home insurance. So you save money there. Take a deep breath with me here. You're already learning something about the law and finances, even though it might be overwhelming. When you talk about a divorce, you're not the one that's going to make the decisions for them. You're going to help them look at all the issues that they need to talk about, and to do it with respect, with kindness, with understanding, with compassion. And you'll learn a few pieces of information which are in my program to give you to give them, and you stay one step ahead. There's a budget form in my program. You can help someone fill out a budget form. It takes weeks to do that, because as soon as you bring up the word budget, you bring up the feelings of, oh my goodness, what are we going to do about money? And this is scary. And I'm mad at him. I'm mad at her. She doesn't, he doesn't. And then you process those feelings. It takes weeks to get those details ironed out. In terms of property, what are the assets and debts? What is maintenance and alimony? All of that is in my program, and what to do about parenting and child support. So you can learn all that information to go into step 5, so that you help them create a new and better relationship, no matter what form it takes in the future. If they're happy, if they get unstuck, if they separate, if they're divorcing, and even post the divorce. I work with clients who have been divorced and help them navigate parenting, money, family reunions, some of my people that I helped get divorced travel together, entertain together, so they can create a new and better relationship, no matter what form it takes. And you can help them do that. So not only can you help them do that in person, I do almost all my work now on Zoom. So when you are talking to them and helping them move in the direction of their highest good, you truly can help them create this new relationship, even online. You don't have to be with them. So I don't want you to do mistake number 5. I don't want you to give up on counseling when somebody is thinking of a separation or divorce, or even talking about a separation or divorce. Think of it as a trailhead to a very deep, intimate conversation that you can help foster these calm, compassionate, courageous conversations that allow them to both decide what they want and need. And sometimes I have them each write a list of what they want in a relationship and what they don't want in a relationship. And when they compare notes, they're the same notes. And I help them see they both want something similar. They don't want what they don't want. And can they give it to each other? And if not, what are the options for separating or divorcing? So to help you from making that mistake, you can get all the information and support you need. You can learn this transformational process that helps clients consider an ending in order to form a new beginning, whatever form it takes in the future. And the most I want you to do is know that you are confident, that no matter who comes to your office, you have all the tools, resources, information, support, and mentoring, which is part of the program, that you need to become an expert in conflict resolution. And then, as some of my clients say, they came to me seeking mediated divorce documents and came out with nothing but peace and hope. Those are the people that both got divorced and other people that didn't. This couple actually got divorced and they came out with peace and hope for the future. And this is what your clients will say about you. Imagine what you will feel like to know that no matter who comes to see you, you have the skill set, the toolbox to meet them where they are and take them where they want to be, even if they don't say it out loud right away. You can help them. So, a quick review. The 5 steps for resolving conflict. Do that initial interview with strategic questions, an introduction, a guided meditation to get them from self. Create a compassionate relationship where you teach them empathy and how to use I messages, where you explore all options, including whether they're going to stay or go, where you stay one step ahead of them to help them understand their rights and finances, and know that you're going to help them create a new and better relationship, no matter what form it takes in the future. And while you're doing that, you're going to avoid these mistakes. You're not going to get lost in the story because you're going to have a templated initial interview that keeps you on track. You're not going to avoid when they talk about a separation or divorce. You're going to welcome those parts because you know it's leading to more intimacy and more honesty and a new way to communicate that they hadn't done before. You're not going to forget or not know the options because if you continue to work with me, I'm going to help you think of all the options for any scenario. You're never going to have to refer out too soon because you'll have all the information and support you need so that you don't have to give up on counseling and you can be a resource for years. I have worked with people that have come in to see me individually, brought their partner in, tried marriage counseling, didn't work, separated, got divorced, came back and talked about co-parenting. So weeks, months, and years, you can be a support for your clients. So let's talk about the blind spot sometimes that doesn't allow for your clients to be safe. Does anybody have a guess for what that is? Do you even know you have a blind spot? I didn't know I had a blind spot, but when I thought about it, there were a lot of ways that I wasn't as present as I needed to be. So think about it a minute. Is there anything you might be missing when you're working with your clients? Because I'm going to mention a few. But the number one blind spot is not practicing enough self-care, meaning doing what you need to bring your highest self into the session, whether it's meditating, journaling, getting your own counseling, getting your own mentoring and support. And we let our egos get in the way, not our spiritual self, not our higher self, but we think we have to have the answers. We get into some performance mode, or we have an agenda, which unfortunately I had with a client recently where I dug too soon for the pain. She called from a foreign country. She didn't have a lot of money, and I wanted to give her as much as I could in a short amount of time. So I tried to help her unburden her pain before I was able to listen to the suffering she wanted to tell me about. And it made it unsafe for her. And that's because I had an agenda and I was digging too soon. So if I had just breathed and allowed her to share what she needed, she would have felt safer. That doesn't happen oftentimes, but it happens even after 35 years. And sometimes if you're coming from your ego, thinking that it's just your mind that's going to do it without your connection to your higher self, you're feeling overwhelmed or like an imposter, like who are you? Because you really don't know this information. You're just staying a step ahead. But when you don't have enough information and you're a perfectionist, that's another problem because it puts you in a mode of being anxious and worried and hypervigilant. So the other problem is you think you've got enough information, you've got enough education, and whatever you have now is enough. And it's not necessarily. I'm still working with mentors. I'm still working with coaches. I'm still working with my own therapist. After all these years of both being a therapist, doing therapy, we need to take care of ourselves. So what you do instead is you trust in the client's self, meaning you know that they've got a spiritual center, that once you help them unburden the pain from the past, let go of their limiting beliefs and judgments, they connect to their higher self, they can relate from their heart. And what we're trying to do is help them to get to self. Excuse me, because the details become easy. It's getting people to self that's sometimes hard. They've got walls around their heart, they've got filters through which they judge their partner. And instead, we're trying to get them to come from their highest self. So we do that by practicing our own self-care, by showing up in our highest self, calm, clear, compassionate, curious. And we take a breath. That's how I get to my higher self in a session. And sometimes to be in self, if I am triggered, I will actually speak for a part of me. So if I'm watching somebody be very angry and it's triggering a part of me, I may speak for the part of me that's triggered by the energy that that client is showing and let them know that there's a part of me that feels that that energy is a little strong. Could they speak more from their self? Sometimes I'll feel something in my body, like a pressure in my stomach or in my chest. I'll tune into it and I may ask the client, is there something going on in your stomach right now? And they say, yeah, it's tight. And I'll ask them, so what do you think you're feeling there? And then we'll get to their sadness or their fear, and we can help them process that so they can get back to self, to heal their own wounds, and to have a compassionate communication with their partner. And to do that, you might need more mentoring and support. I hope you think you do. I hope you think I'm the one to help you, because if so, you're going to be part of a nurturing community and get referrals, feedback, and guidance along the way. So the last part is, how do we do that? How do we harness the power of mentoring and support? So I'm just going to take a few minutes and tell you a little bit about the fact that it's not what you're doing, it's who you are being that makes a difference to your clients. How do you show up in your highest self, confident that you have what you need to know to be of service? And here's what happens when you're in self. You're calm no matter what's going along in your office. You're clear that you know how to bring peace. You're compassionate to them and all the parts of them, no matter what they're showing you. And you sit in confidence that you'll be of service. You don't have to have the answers. You just know you'll be of service because you're connected to your higher self, your inner wisdom, your deeper knowing. And you can be courageous when you see conflict, because you're going to realize that even though people are acting out from anger or blame or judgment, there's pain and sadness underneath. And you can hold the courage for them to access their own honesty and vulnerability and share that with their partner. And you can help them be creative so that they can reach a peaceful resolution, no matter what direction it goes, because they're going to stay curious about each other, not judgmental, not blaming. And you're going to model how to do that for them by being in self yourself. So I want to tell you for just a moment about my upcoming compassionate mediation certification. I've already done 4 cohorts, and my next cohort starts soon. I would love to have you consider whether this is something that might resonate with you and be of help in your future. It's perfect for any issue you might have in your own relationship, because all the people that take it talk about how they learn just as much about themselves and the people in their lives as they do about helping their clients. If you love to serve clients on all different levels that go beyond what you've learned as a coach or a therapist, you can do so in this program. You increase your expertise in conflict resolution and in healing. You make a deeper, bigger impact with your practice because you can extend it out to more people in more diverse roles. There's premarital counseling, there's postmarital counseling, there's post-divorce counseling. You can use these skills to work with individuals and couples along the way. And I'll show you the exact steps to take, the questions to ask, and the information to offer to add to your toolbox, because I have it all in an academy with videos, handouts, templates, scripts that I give to you in the certification. And what I help you do so that you can help others is compassionately communicate, to be your best self, help yourself and them let go of any limiting beliefs, unburden pain from the past, and relate from your heart. And what's the cost of not knowing? Well, nothing really. You'll stay where you are. You'll have the skill set that you have. You might lose clients who are highly conflictual or thinking of divorce. You might get frustrated you don't have the tools or feel overwhelmed. You might feel isolated or alone. So I don't want that for you. I want you to know that you can keep clients, don't have to feel frustrated or overwhelmed, because you'll have mentoring and support. And the community that we've created in the Compassionate Communication Academy, Compassionate Mediation professionals that we've trained, is one of loving, nurturing, experienced professionals who are all supporting each other in their personal and professional growth. And what we talk about in the certification is exactly the exact details I just gave you, as much as I could tonight, on the interview, the empathy, options, legal rights and responsibilities, and how to use those skills now. We have practicums, we have keynotes, we have an opportunity to practice with each other. So you get the experiential as well as the technical issues on how to do all this. So take a deep breath with me. I'm hoping this is a sign you've been looking for. I'm hoping whatever led you to be here right now is like, this is why I signed up. There's something more for me here. There's something I could talk to Linda about soon and see if this is a fit for me. Because if it's a fit, I want to get you started. And in the meantime, I want to help you go from heartache to hope to healing to happiness. If you don't have it already, I want you to get the roadmap, because in that roadmap, it covers the overview that we talked a little bit about today. It gives you a video with the overview of the process. But I also want to give you, for joining me tonight, the Compassionate Communication Self-Care Kit. And what that guided meditation is actually the guided meditation I do in the first session. So I mentioned you'll learn it in the program, but I'm giving it away now so that you have it. It links to that. And it's a way to take better care of yourself and then to bring that to your clients. So go to lindakroll.com if you want to take a screenshot or write down lindakroll.com, CCC, Compassionate Communication Care, CCC. I want to thank you for being here. And here's what I want you to do. If this resonates at all, I want you to go to lindakroll.com/certify, answer a few questions, and book a call with me, because I open this cohort by invitation. And what that means is I'm very clear about the type of people that take this course. They are very heart-centered, they're very spiritual, they're very talented. And if this resonates for you at all, then please go to lindakroll.com/certify and sign up, and we will talk. So that is it for the official webinar masterclass tonight. So now I'm going to take off the recording, and thank you for being here, and I'm going to answer your questions. So thank you all.